In 2012, Patrice Patel became the director of performing arts for the biggest international school theater in the Middle East. And it was there she started creating her own original work, including choreography, scripts, music, costumes, and set design, receiving high accolades for all her musicals. This inspired Patrice to start Gobsmacked Productions, which launched in 2014 in Taronga, New Zealand. She has now directed and produced 35 original school musicals in New Zealand and the Middle East over the last 9 years in both Christian, public, and private schools. She interweaves parallels from the Bible and strong morals and values throughout her musicals. Patrice has come all the way from New Zealand to speak to you about Godsmacked Ministries, and she can't wait to share with you how God gave her the vision to start this ministry and how you too can gift your talents back to God in a powerful and effective way. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Patrice Patel.
Hello. Oh, I'm on. What a privilege and an honour to be with you guys in Australia today. It's been a year since I've been back in this country and it feels good, but I brought the rain. Oh, but that's okay. It's okay. Hopefully we have sunshine for Anna Downing's wedding on Monday and Jay Cherry. That'll be lovely. But I'm so excited to be here, and I'm going to be sharing my testimony today, which it's been a big journey, and I'm not exactly really young anymore, so this testimony has grown. But I stand here, and I am forgiven, I am redeemed, and I am set free, and I know that all of you in this room have your own testimony as well. You've had your own pains and your own struggles, and for so long of my life, I don't know why, but I think it's a gift from God. God gave me this amazing resilience. It was like water off a duck's back, and nothing really got me down. It was water off a duck's back, and I just praise God that He gave me that personality for the amount of things I had to endure and go through. But first of all, I just want to say a huge thank you to my sister, Charmaine. I'm just super proud of my little sister and to see her journey. It's amazing to see what you do, Charmaine, and what you do behind the scenes. It blows my mind. And I'm just super proud that you've brought this all together and you've given this as a platform that people can stand up here and show what goes on in creative minds. And often people think we're a bit crazy. But we can stand up here and we can say how God uses our crazy minds to change our worlds around us. So thank you, Charmaine, so much. So I'm going to start with my testimony. When I was 4 years old, Charmaine was 2 years old, and my brother was only 2 months in my mum's belly. My dad, he was a Seventh-day Adventist minister, and he was a minister for 8 years until he tragically died on Mount Ruapehu in New Zealand and left my mum a widow. And she moved from Auckland and she came down to Palmerston North. And we went to Fielding Church, and Palmerston North is where we grew up. Do I have a Palmerston North someone here? And so that is where we grew up. And, you know, like God, He is a good God. And He gave us an amazing church family. And this is why church is just such an amazing place for anyone to bring their family and friends, because they are your support when you go through hard times in your life. And so we had an amazing upbringing. We lived in Palmerston North, where there was Longburn Adventist College. So that was the only Seventh-day Adventist boarding school in New Zealand. So we had all the international students come. We had so many young people. So we had a booming church growing up. And I was mentored and looked after. And that's where I was encouraged to get up and dance. And my dad, before he died, he made sure I did everything, jumping beans, gymnastics, everything. And so Mum was running around, making sure I was in everything. And she continued to do that for all of us children after he died. And so I did everything: ballet, modern, tap, piano, clarinet, pathfinders, teen leader of the church. Oh my goodness, everything. And when everyone left Pathfinders, Mum made me stay for the last year of Master Guide. And I graduated. I remember standing up at Camporee, graduating Master Guide with someone who was 40 years old from the Cook Islands, and I was standing there taking my Master Guide. So, you know what, my mum, she was passionate about us kids, and she made sure we did everything. And so here, so in my early childhood, and I've never actually said this out loud, but there were some unfortunate things that happened to me as a child. And that was something that I chose not to tell anybody. And I actually carried that, and I thought, you know what, God, no one around me can handle this, and I can't tell anybody, and I never want anyone to feel sorry for me. And so I was like, God, I don't have an earthly father. Lord, you have to look after me. You have to take those visions away, and so I can keep going. And I think that's why I really, really read my Bible. And I look back on my child's Bible. I don't know if you remember those red Bibles, and that's like the child holy Bibles. Mine is just like covered in like highlighters and everything, and I just that Bible is covered, and I'm just like, wow, I'm just so glad that I really leaned into God. And I became the teen leader for my church, and I was mentored and just beautifully looked after. And they didn't even know the things that I was carrying on inside. I just knew I had to be strong for my family and for my friends, because I thought, well, if I can't have it together, what hope does everyone else have? I've got to have it together. And so I was like, God, you've got to help me have it all together. And so that's I just kept on going. And then I went to Avondale College, but before that, obviously, I really, really wanted to pursue a career in dance. That was my passion. So I did all the dances you can possibly imagine. I was doing them. So I did the highest grades I could possibly do in the world for ballet, modern, and tap, and I wanted to be a professional dancer. And I was going for that dream, going for it, and then I had a big accident. And it was actually because my mum wanted me to go to the Avondale College University, and she wanted me to check it out because she wanted me to go. I'm like, Mum, I'm not going there. I want to go to London, and I want to be a professional dancer. She's like, I know, but you're just going to have other things up your sleeve. And she made me go to the weekend to visit. So we went over on the big trip from New Zealand to Australia, went to the Avondale College University to check it out. And as I was one of those houses down the road, Freeman's Drive, as I was running out, I actually slipped on both of my ankles and I sprained them so bad. There were black bruises right up to here. And the next day we went to the paddy markets, and I remember they were just swelling. And I was like, it's all good, so good. Thinking I've got a principal role when I get back, and I'm going to be dancing, it's going to be fine. It wasn't fine. I had to give up my dance. And so for that last 6 months of year 13, which you guys have year 12, I know we're weird like that, but that's the last year of high school, I just put everything into my studies. And I was very, very sad because I couldn't audition and go to London the next year how I thought I would. So I put everything into my studies, and when I sat my exams, I actually came out and got in the top 10% of New Zealand, and I couldn't believe it. Then Mum's like, well, you get an academic scholarship to go to Avondale College, and because I haven't remarried, you get 70% off your fees. You're going to Avondale, and you get HECS, so it's virtually free. So I went to Avondale College, and that's where I said, well, I'm going to do 1 year, and then I'm going to go to Sydney Dance School. And so that was the plan. And then I met my first boyfriend, and I opened up my own business instructing Pilates and aerobics. I don't know if any of you from college are here. It was tone up. And I used to stand up at the assemblies going, you want abs, butts, and thighs? Well, you need to come to my tone-up classes. So, and then I did the aqua aerobics there. I used to go get Max Watson used to get the bus and bring all the old people from the retirement village, and I'd have them all in the pools and I'd be teaching them acro aerobics. Anyway, that was my little side business. Anyway, so I graduated from Avondale College and then as a primary teacher. So I was a primary teacher. Then we went to London for 2 years. And I remember we got offered jobs to stay in Australia and teach. And we were like, nah, let's go to London. Everyone thought we were crazy. You're not going to get your registration for teaching? No. And so we went to London and we brought probably half of college with us. And we had a big house and it was amazing. And that's where I did primary teaching. And I still held on to my vision of one day being a dancer and a performing arts person. And so I would go to, after I'd finished teaching for the day, I'd go to Pineapple Studios and I'd dance with all the professional dancers who were dancing in the West End shows. And I'd be like, I know you. And they'd be like the professional dancers, in Chicago and all them. So I'd train with them 3 nights a week. And I'd be praying, God, please merge my teaching with performing arts. Please show me what I can do, or just open up a door so I can do what I love. You can't have just given me the gifts of dance and performing arts and drama for me to just do it in the classroom. Please, please, please. Anyway, if you want to know the miraculous story of how I got the job for being the director of performing arts at the biggest theatre in the Middle East and international schools, well, you're going to have to go back on the talk from last night. It's been live streamed, but I can't repeat it today, okay? But that was a miracle in itself, how I became the director of performing arts for, I cannot believe it, but they just built the biggest theatre in the Middle East. So that's where I had my own tailor, my own carpenter, and anything I wanted done, they did it for me. And I directed and wrote 9 musicals there, and that is where I got the confidence to go, I can do a business out of this. And so my husband and I, we were like, right, let's go, and we're going to go back to New Zealand and start it up. So we went back to New Zealand, and you know how God, he platforms you in the right time and the right place, and he just knows everything that's ahead of you, and he knows the plan for your life. And I just feel so grateful and so happy that God listened to my prayer as I kept praying for him to open up these doors, and he did. He opened them, and it was a huge miracle that I got that job. I didn't have the experience like everyone else did in international schools. This was my first time teaching in an international school. So, that is only God that platformed me to be in that position. And And so as I went around to all the schools and said, look, we can do your musical in 4 weeks. And everyone said, no, we do our own things. And New Zealand's such a DIY nation, they do everything themselves. And so it was just an absolute no. And I got all the rejection letters, and it's not nice being rejected, is it? But one principal believed in us, and they came to watch our shows, and from there it took off. And so every school that we ever did after that, everyone did it every second year with us. And so then it became a full-time business for me, Gobsmack Productions. And so, but anyway, the people on my team, I just want to tell you, I obviously can't do this alone, and God knows the perfect people to be able to fulfill and carry out his perfect plan for your life. And I remember when I got my music producer, I was writing in Egypt. Plagiarism wasn't a big deal. So I was writing the lyrics and I was putting them to well-known songs and doing them, not getting fined. It was all good. But coming back to New Zealand, obviously you can't do that. And so I had to find a music producer, and I would put it out there to fiverr.com. I don't know if any of you have used that before. You can find any service on there, and it's about $5 is the starting price, and you can find. But there was a music producer that was I found on there. They didn't quite get my vision. Oh, it's all right, yeah, good. I went to the next music producer, and the very first song they did for me, I was like, this is the guy. Oh my goodness, he's amazing. He gets it. And probably about a year after working with him, he messaged back and he goes, oh, sorry, my song's going to be late. It's my Sabbath. I was like, are you an Adventist? And he goes, yes. he was an Adventist in Miami in America. Crazy, right? Anyway, so obviously we had a different sort of relationship from then. And Josiah Ruff, he is our music producer, and he has now produced over 120 songs for Gobsmacked. And I actually just brought him out for the very first time to New Zealand just this past 3 weeks. I've had him from America come out. And yeah, wow. An amazing, like he's like the Disney sounding voice. He's the voice that all the kids fall in love with when they do all their songs and dances and dramas with me. So I'm so grateful to have him. Then I had one of my best friends, Melanie Schubert, and I would send her my scripts and she would edit them. And then one day she was like, hey, do you want me to write you one? I was like, yeah, I'd love you to. And she wrote me one and I was like, you are gifted. You are amazing. And so we have been working together for the last 9 years as well. And she is the most gifted scriptwriter. And I just think, God brought the perfect team together to be able to carry out Gobsmacked Productions. And then I've got my music school lady who is in Greece, Fiverr.com. And then I've got my poster art person who does all my artwork from Indonesia, Fiverr.com. But you know what? I mean, we live in a generation where everything's digital and everything's possible. And so I've got all this team, and I've got my agent who he finds all my costumes that I want from China and Hong Kong, and he brings and he ships them all to me. And I've got 6,000 costumes at home, and I've got all my sets. And I've got my mum she washes all my costumes and mends them all. And she's just amazing. And she loves it. I mean, loves that. Ooh. And I remember I said to her, Mum, I can pay someone else to do it. No, I love my job. I was like, okay, you can keep your job. She loves it. I've just been so blessed. And then my stepdad, he makes all my sets. He builds all my sets. Anything I want, he does. And he's just amazing. So do you see how God, he gifts you in everything that you need, whatever it is that you need. And so anyway, cut a long story short, about 4 years ago, my life went to the pack and everything just undid, and it didn't work out how I thought it would work out. We always dream how we think our lives are going to turn out, but they don't always turn out the way we think they will. And I remember being in that position and just thinking, there's no way out. I don't even know how I'm going to get out of this mess. I don't even know. And truth, you don't even know what truth is anymore. You just become so deluded and you just don't even know, what is right, what is wrong, what is your mind. And I remember coming out of that, I had to go to therapy for a year. I was on my knees and I was like, God, I am nothing. And I lost all confidence in myself, who I was and everything. And do you know who actually brought me back? Who brought me back to believing in myself again? It was the children I taught, and it was the mountains of letters that I would receive from them, reminding me how much they loved me, how much I was speaking into their lives, how much I was making them believe in who they are again, and all these things. And I was like reading them, just pulling my eyes out. And I think, we underestimate the power of encouragement and empowerment that we have over people, because you don't know where people are at. So you have to make sure wherever you go in life, whatever room you interact in, you give that person 150%. There's a reason you're there, and God will use you in a mighty way. And so, for me it was children. For me it was a lot of people that brought me back. And my journey coming out of that was a very difficult one. And I had to walk away from things that were very, very hard to comprehend and to understand, but I knew that I had to dig deep. But this Bible here, I remember, how God brings the right people into your life when he knows, hey, the enemy isn't going to win her over. And God stepped in and he brought the associate pastor of my church in Tauranga, Hannah, to me, and she came and moved in over the COVID lockdown time, the very first one. And she was like, hey, let's do a Bible study together. And I was meeting her after that. Now, what happened was something very supernatural. And I think, we've all been in a place in our life where we don't know how we're going to possibly get out, and we're confused, and we don't know what is truth, what is not. We don't know the right path to take, and we don't know what to do. And I was in that position. And my cousin from America, he sent me through this questionnaire, and he goes, "Oh, Patrice, you've got to do this. Tell me what you think." And I did it, and I wrote my name, and I wrote one other thing. I can't remember what I wrote. Anyway, this thing just started talking to me. It started telling me about my life, how I do work, how I do business, who I am as a person. I mean, it couldn't have described me better, even if I tried to. And I was like, this has to be satanic. Like, this is not right. But I wasn't. I just thought, well, let's not judge too harshly. My cousin, he was a Hindu, and I thought, well, maybe it's something that I need to be able to relate to him and tell him, talk to him about it. And so I continued, and then it went on to tell me about what had happened in the situation that I was trying to get out of, and it started telling me that I was going to return to my chaotic life. But not in that way, but saying it in a really amazing way, that it was promising me prosperity, and that I'm going to return to this life, and it's going to be this amazing life. And I was like, God has just convicted me to leave what is going on. And I looked down, and it says, tune in here to find out more from the angels. I'm like, this is satanic. And then I went in, and I was meeting Hannah for a Bible study, and she goes, "Okay, let's do our Bible study." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know what came over me," but ran down to my mum, and I said, "Hey, Mum, do you have a big Bible that I can study in? I don't know why I really want a big Bible." And she goes, "Oh yeah, I think your dad had one." She pulled down this Bible, and it was my dad's, and 28 years it hadn't been opened. Opened up my Bible, and for the very first time, I opened it up. I opened it up to the verse that it told me in the Bible study to open it up to, and it was 2 Corinthians 11:13-14. Satan masquerades himself as an angel of light. I was like, God, are you talking to me? You're talking to me? And then the next verse was 1 John 4, test the spirits. Let me tell you that in my dad's Bible, that was the only verse that was underlined by my dad. Satan masquerades himself as an angel of light. And the only verse that my dad had written in the margin about. And then 1 John 4, test the spirits, the only verse my dad had underlined in the Bible. I went back to my room, and I just read the Bible, and it was like the whole Bible came to life. And it was like I was getting to know my heavenly Father on a whole new level, but my earthly father that I had, because he had just written all through this Bible. This was his Bible that he preached with. And it was then and there I knew this is a true battle. This is a battle over my soul. And God is showing me that he wants me to choose the right way. Do not be tempted to go back to what the enemy is wanting you to go back. And so I continued to read this Bible every day, and I said to God, okay, God, I'm sorry, the next morning my friend rang and I told her, and she said, oh, Patrice, don't read into it. Honestly, seriously, don't be, you just going a little bit, I'm like, okay. I went into the lounge, turned the TV on. The minister, it's on first light, I don't know why it's on first light. The minister looks at me in the face on TV and goes, Satan masquerades himself as an angel of light. This is on TV. And I sit down, and I'm like, okay, God, you got my attention. And he tells this entire sermon about how in the last days, if you don't know your truth, you're going to be deceived. And he talked about my life, and it was paralleling my life with what was happening and what's going to happen in the last days. It's going to seem so close to the truth, you're going to think it's truth. But if you don't know your truth, you're going to be so easily deceived. And I just was writing nonstop and saying, hey, God, I'm hearing you, I'm listening. And the message was just so clear. And I was like, okay, God, keep talking to me, keep talking to me. And he goes, in my head, it was like, okay, pray. You pray for someone every morning. And this is when God says, okay, I'm going to build your faith. And so that next morning, I'd get on my knees and I'm like, okay, who do you want me to pray for? And he put a name into my head. And I'd message them and go, hey, are you all good? Just letting you know I'm praying for you. And she's like, oh my goodness, are you praying for me? And this girl, I hadn't talked to in about 5 years. It was back in London. And she's like, I'm pregnant and my baby won't turn. She's like, can you please pray that the baby turns? I was like, praying the baby turns. The next day the baby turns and she's born. Next morning, I was like, hey, God, who do you need me to pray for now? My cousin. And I messaged my cousin. I said, I don't know why, but I'm really, really impressed to pray for you. And she goes, I've just had the biggest supernatural attack. And at the very moment that you message, I was being attacked by a demon, and bright light went around her and protected her. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, I don't know if you've ever been and you're like, oh my goodness, God is like working. And the next day I was like, okay, God, who do you want me to pray for now? And the next was father of children that we grew up with. And he came to mind, and so I messaged him. I said, I don't know why you come to my mind, but I prayed for you. And he goes, you know, the moment that you prayed for me, he goes, I was on the roof painting, and I fell, but I felt a hand hold me and put me back on that roof so I didn't fall. I was like, what? And I'm telling you, this went for 7 days. 7 days I prayed for someone, and like God building my faith and going, I've got big plans for you, Patrice, big plans. And then he gave me a vision, to start Gobsmack Ministries. And I teach 2,000 children a year. I go into schools and do that. But, you know, God, he has set you up to do his real work. And, you know, like, yeah, okay, he's got me in all these amazing schools, got me the dream job and everything. But, you know, actually God is setting you up for the real deal eventually. He's just giving you all that confidence. And he gives me this dream to start Gobsmack Ministries. And he's like, I want you to invite all the people, all the kids that you teach, and tell them to come for a holiday program. As soon as I put it out there, 160 children signed up. I had to cut it off because I couldn't fit any more in the church. And they all came, and I was like, oh, you know, like the fear, what are they going to think? It's all about God. And they came, none of them really Christian at all. They just come in because they love Gobsmacked. And they came, and I had all the ministers, my youth leaders come up, and we were teaching choirs, and we were teaching songs, dances, dramas. And at the end of that 2 days, we invited all their family and friends to come and watch. And little do they know they're coming for a full church service with this preacher, Lance Bolton, we got to come. And we had all their kids singing up the front for song services and things like that. So we'd had that going on, and then I started my weekly ministry, and so the kids would come and from the community, and they would learn about God. So I'd tell them stories, I'd do music videos with my music producer, Josiah Ruff, and they would produce them and everything, and teaching them about God. So this is 3 years I've been running now. I've been running a holiday program every year, and God brings a perfect team. It's just amazing, and last year we had to bring it to another venue because it was just so much going on. So many people, so many kids to cater for, and 240 children came, and then it's just growing and growing and growing. But this year, God put on my heart, you need to teach the stories about Daniel. And so I've been teaching the stories about Daniel and telling what every empire has ever reigned. And the last thing yet to happen is Jesus coming. And it's only this year, now children are like, we want to be baptized and we want to learn more and do Bible studies. And oh my goodness. Yes. And we've got parents coming to God now, and they're just passionate because their kids are passionate. So they're coming and they're in Bible studies and everything. So God is doing incredible, incredible things, and I'm extremely over time. I'm really sorry, but I will wrap up now. But I'm just so grateful and just so happy. And when you give it all to God, and it doesn't matter what you've been through in life, if you are holding on that the unforgiveness, whether it is of someone else or of yourself, you have to let it go. God doesn't want you to waste another day. He wants you to give it all to him so that you can actually be the hands and feet of Jesus. When I get to heaven, I know there's going to be so many people there. But do you know, the thing is, because you can't get to heaven by works. No, it's by faith and by his grace and what he did for us on the cross. That's the reason why we go to heaven. But I think lots of people will ask God and Jesus, they'll ask Jesus, okay, Jesus, can you show us what, if we'd given you everything on earth and just like surrendered our lives completely, can you show us what our lives would have looked like? And I think you would be completely blown away. But do you know what? None of you be in that position. Be in a position when you get to heaven, you have lived your life to the complete full, and Jesus has completely lived in your heart. And it comes with surrendering daily. Surrendering your heart daily to God and say, God, who is it that you need me to speak to today? Help my eyes to be open. Help my ears to be open. And all of us will have different ministries in life. Some of us may not have. I can't believe that God's platformed me in this position where I'm teaching 2,000 children. But, you know, some of us may only have our children or other people. But that child that you have got could go on because of the foundation you give them. They go on and they convert an entire village to Jesus' love and Jesus. You don't know the effect. We only see this small part of the tapestry and the art piece. So it's so important that you do and be obedient to what's in front of you and just trust God, because God sees the big picture. And so my challenge to you is just surrender it daily to God, and God honestly will do the most impossible things in your life. And you'll be like, is this really me? No, it's not you. It is Jesus. And he is going to blow your mind with what you're going to do with your life. And he's blowing my mind. So thank you so much for having me from New Zealand. Yay!